Lindsay, oh my word, I'm so sorry that this class got you off on like a rough start, the wrong foot, feeling overwhelmed, trying to find words to respond there to the first forum. Let me just try to reassure you what you have written is amazing. It is great. You're doing fantastic work. So please believe in yourself. And if my forum prompts paralyze you again, please take them as loosely as is necessary for you to be able to just get rolling with what you're thinking. Mostly, I want to just hear kind of where you're at as you've digested the material. I love the way you're responding to the experience of reading Taubes, my translation, all that's fantastic. So I hope maybe after this first week, you just feel a little bit more at ease and like you can just enjoy the learning process without me tripping you up with a bunch of complicated questions or something. So, and no worries on being a little late. Uh, no need to apologize. We're all getting settled here in week one. You're not the only one who was a little late with week one work. So, no worries. All right. So, I want to send you a reply video this first week just to say hello a little more personally and give you some reaction to what you've written, which, as I've said, is fantastic. Um, First of all, I think that I just want to cut straight to the question that you ask at the end of Forum 1. I don't think that fruit needs to imply conversions directly. I think, in fact, the implication in the way Paul writes those words to people who are already baptized into the Messiah is that the fruit among them will probably be money. The offering that he says he's been wanting to collect from them to support the saints in Jerusalem, now that he's going to have to go to Jerusalem first, which he says at the end of the letter, it becomes clear that maybe the money he's hoping to collect is for the work he's headed to do in Spain. We don't really know, but to your point, it does not need to be the fruit of people converting to Christ or something. I think that's just not necessary, even though that's often what fruit kind of connotes in people's minds today or what they might jump to when they read that phrase in the letter. It could also be other kinds of fruit. You're going to see what we might call um, botanical or gardening metaphors running right through this letter. You yourself talk about the letter as an olive leaf. Paul's going to describe the people of God as an olive tree. He's going to talk about seeds, which he already has in the opening lines of the letter. He's going to talk about plants and just all kinds of metaphors from this kind of realm. And so fruit here, I think, can be kind of open-ended and might have certain things on the front end, like I've said, offering from these people to support the gospel that Paul is proclaiming. But it can also be just growth in the community's life in Rome, growing in power, in generosity through Paul's teaching, through Paul's testimony. So there's room for all of that, I think, in how to make sense of fruit. Um, I you'll see this in the week two material. I think myself that um, some of the writers, this would be true of Taubes, but also others, don't take seriously enough how Paul characterizes the audience. He characterizes them as of Gentile background and not as of Jewish background. So while they're Jews in the community in Rome, it doesn't seem that Paul has addressed himself to them in this letter, but has instead addressed himself to the non-Jewish part of the community in Rome, which is kind of befitting his apostleship. He's the apostle to the Gentiles, he's going to say in chapter 11. So that's where chapters 9 to 11 are especially telling, I think, about the purpose and the audience of the letter. As you note, I think here, drawing from Keck. And Paul is concerned, as we find there, to address this tendency of like Gentile arrogance, a kind of presumption that when some of Paul's relatives have not treated them well, some of Paul's Jewish relatives, they're somehow entitled to disown them, to regard themselves as non-Jewish people as having replaced these disobedient relatives of Paul's. And Paul argues against that and says, God has not disowned them, and so you can't either. So I think that is important to take into account in making sense of the tone of this letter, its purpose, that sort of thing. Anyway, great job here in the first forum. And then in the second forum is where you're reacting to Taubes, which is awesome, what you have to say here. I do find him to be kind of cheeky. And from what I've heard, this was characteristic of his personality. And as you've noted, I think charitably, this is also sometimes self-deprecating. So it's not a kind of arrogant cheekiness, but it is sometimes a little abrasive, as you say, or caustic. I think that it's good to remember the occasion of these lectures that are transcribed. He's staring down a room full of like elite male European Christian scholars who he is saying have not taken seriously key dimensions of Paul's teaching because they have neglected the Jewishness of Paul. And so it's also the case that he mentioned that he is going to his death soon. He's found out that he is dying of a terminal illness. And so that might also contribute to the tone that he feels the liberty to take. He was known for just being a really witty philosopher who had survived the Holocaust and managed to sustain relationships with all kinds of Christian philosophers and theologians, some of whom had been instrumental in so much destruction of the Jewish community. Anyway, a little bit of context, but appreciate your engagement with him and looking forward to more conversation ahead. Again, I hope you're going to be at ease going forward. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me again if we need to just kind of put our heads together and keep you moving. But glad you persevered through the difficult moments here a few days ago. And welcome to the course. Looking forward to more conversation with you. If you, by the way, want to reply to this video, you of course can, and that's welcome. But you don't have to. If you don't reply to it, if you could just write received or something like that, so that I know that you got the video and were able to view it, came through okay, that would be great. Looking forward to a great summer studying Romans together.